I'm just going to copy that to save time. So if the security ID is the same and the settle date is the same and the type is the same, we want to skip this line. Skip this data item. Well, that will equal to 1. Here we set it to 0, and here if we want to skip this, we'll set it to 1 and then break the loop. Okay, so this is the first part of the aggregation method, and again there might be better ways of doing this, but this is just one way. Works. It might not be the most efficient, but it does work. So we're looping through the lines and then we work backwards. Here, this is the part where we work backwards and ensure that we haven't reported this line again, and we're doing that by checking the current line with the previous lines that have been passed here, passed in the loop. If we come across a line like here, for example, I'll put that under there. So when we reach line 3, let's say that's equal to I, okay, and J at some point will equal to the first line. Because the security ID is the same, and the settle date is the same, and the type is the same, then that flag will become true, and here we will skip this line and move on to the next one, because we've already dealt with this before. We don't want to deal with it twice. Okay, and now what we need to do is, if a line has reached this far, as in it wasn't skipped, for example the first line, it would definitely come here because there's nothing previous to report. So the first line will definitely come this far. We want to work forward and aggregate the data, and basically what I'm going to do to save time is copy well, actually I'll type it actually, because it's not exactly the same. So we're here, we're going to work forward to aggregate the cash flow. Actually I'm going to copy this because it's basically a similar method. I want to loop through the iterator sorry, I want to loop through the iterator or the vector, not loop through the iterator. Use an iterator to loop through the vector. But this time name it JJ, and J will equal not the beginning of the list but the next item in the list. So the current item is I, we want the next item, and this is how you do it. So iterators, I mean this is a very good demonstration on iterators. And then we want to make sure JJ is not at the end of the list, and we want to go to the next item in the list. So for example, if I is the first line, JJ will equal this, and then this, and then this, and each of those 3 lines will be compared to the first line, which is I. Yeah? And then if you go up here, copy this, because that's the main logic in determining whether this line should be aggregated or not. So you copy the same logic up here where we decide whether to skip the line or not, and you put it inside this loop, but this time instead of using J, we're using JJ because that's moving forwards. And also this time, instead of skipping the line, we want to aggregate the cash flow. So the cash flow here that we declared before, up here, yeah, will equal the cash flow. So will equal what's inside here already, which we assigned up here, which is the current cash flow of the line. So for example, the first line is 200,000. Sorry, let me highlight properly. Try not to confuse you. The first line, the cash flow, will equal 200,000, and JJ will equal this, and this logic down here will come true because the security ID and settle date and the type is the same. So that will the cash flow will equal that plus that, which is 500,000. I hope that is clear. Right, so we've reached the second crucial part of the aggregation, which is working forwards, and this is very easy because basically we're just moving forward through the list by assigning JJ to I plus 1, right? And then we're using the same logic up here, but down here, instead of skipping the line, we're aggregating the cash flow. And now finally we can output the current data item, the current line, into the output file. So here, let's grab the data from the current data item. Now, out file is the output file stream that we declared up here. Okay. Oops. Just going to copy that to save time. Here we want it to be the trade date, trade type. In the output file, we're not outputting the trade ID because the whole point of this application is to aggregate data based on position. So we're not interested in the trade ID, the first column. You can output it if you want, but we don't need to do that. Settle date. Can make it look nice and neat like that. Okay, I'm just gonna copy that. And here, the rate. And this is important. Instead of outputting the current cash flow here, we want to output the aggregated cash flow, which is cash flow. And then finally the type. Don't forget to end the line. Okay. So after we exit this loop, which is the loop going through the vector list, we want to close the file, the output file, because we don't need it anymore. And basically that's it. Let me just build it, see if it works the first time. If it builds the first time, it would be amazing. Because if you're a developer, you know, most of the time you build, you will find errors. But because I've done this before, I did not get any errors. Okay, let's test it. So, as you know, we went into the project properties and we're getting the data here. So I'm going to run it now by hitting F5 on my Windows PC, and that's it. It's ran. Hopefully it created the output file. So if I go to the project folder, and there I can see an output file, so I'm just going to drag it here. There you go, it worked perfectly. And I'm just going to copy these two lines so you can compare it to the input file. Yeah. So this is the input file. We aggregated these two lines together because they had the same security ID, settle date and interest, and as you can see it's this line here. We aggregated the cash flow, so 200,000 plus 300,000 is 500,000 of course, and then we aggregated the second line and the fourth line for the same reasons, and that is there. So I hope you found this method useful. Briefly we go through the vector list and then we work backwards to see if the current line was reported already. If it has, skip it, otherwise continue on, and then work forwards and aggregate the cash flows. I have used this method before with data coming in from a database, and I have created this method using indices instead of iterators. Again, there are many ways of doing this, but I'm just showing you one way using vectors. Hope you found it useful. Please let me know your thoughts, and thanks for watching. Please support me also by downloading one of my iPhone apps that I created called Draw Me Alive. Take care, guys.